I recently had somebody tell me that they could never play guitar because they couldn't move their left hand that way. I was playing some piece that had a lot of chords in it, and I thought to myself, I didn't always know how to play all these chords, but I was able to make music. I started to think about it and kind of came up with this little thing. I'm tuned in drop D, so that's standard tuning, but with the low string tuned down a whole step to a D. There's a million videos on how to tune your guitar to drop D. The point of this is, with just one finger on your left hand, you can make music. Basically, this video is to illustrate two things. Number one, that you don't need crazy dexterity on your fretting hand in order to make music. And number two, that it's important to work on your right hand, because if you don't have the ability to differentiate notes with your right hand, it doesn't really matter what your left hand is doing. This isn't really a formal song or anything. It's just a few parts that I kind of have been playing with over the last couple of days. Something to note, if you want to use more than one finger, there are definitely more elegant ways to play these parts, and they sound a little fuller and maybe more articulate. But if all you had was one finger and you wanted to try to play music, this would get the job done. So look, if you put those parts together and maybe you threw some lyrics on top of them, it would sound like a cool song. Nothing wrong with that. It's pretty basic, but it sounds like you're doing a lot. And that was using one finger. I was doing individual note stuff. I was doing multi-string individual note stuff. And then I was also playing power chords, which on a drop D, it's basically one finger barred across the bottom three strings to make a chord. So if you only had one finger to use, or if you were just starting out and you only had your confidence built up in using one finger, you could still make something happen. Now, something you might say is, oh, well, that's just really slow, and you can't do anything really cool sounding with just one finger. And I have something for that too. This next thing that I'm going to play is based around the same actual notes as that, and I like to play this thing with more than just one finger, but it's possible to play it that way. And just for demonstration's sake, I'm going to play it now. It at least illustrates the concept. Yeah, I played it sloppy, but the the point is demonstrated. With limited ability with your left hand, you could totally pull off something that sounds very musical. And I wasn't doing anything particularly crazy there, but there's a lot of there's a lot of thumb stuff going on. First finger. For most of that stuff, that's the only two fingers I'm really using. There are other things that I use other fingers for, but for that, mostly it's a lot of alternating thumb and index finger on a lot of that stuff. So yeah, that's all. So and with the first example, it's very rhythmic with your right hand. If you combine fretting notes with open notes, maybe ghost notes, where maybe you're kind of deadening the strings and plucking them anyway, kind of makes just like that dead percussive kind of sound. And then you also have harmonics. So there's all kinds of different ways to play the guitar, and whoever you're learning from is going to teach you things that they regularly do. And there are other ways to play the guitar. You might learn from somebody who only plays with a pick, but there's a whole world of finger picking that's out there. You can learn flamenco style finger picking. You can learn folk style finger picking. You can kind of do a hybrid thing. I do a lot of different things because I never learned formally. So I taught myself over the years how to play guitar and how to play bass. And so my technique is sort of all over the place. I'm probably the last person that you would want to learn how to play from, because I'm really unorthodox and I probably do a lot of things that are not right or bad. I've picked up a lot of tendencies over the years that I think are probably not the most efficient way to play the guitar or the bass. And I think if I had learned them maybe the right way, I might have a little cleaner technique. I might have a little better technique. But realistically, play it however it works for you. If your guitar teacher or your bass teacher is trying to teach you to play like them and it's not working for you, it's not feeling quite right, it may not be that you can't get it, or it may not be that bass isn't for you or guitar isn't for you. It may be that that particular technique isn't for you. There's a million different styles out there, and you can break the mold. You can sort of break the rules and play whatever style of music you want with whatever techniques work for you. It depends on the instrument you're playing and the way you want it to come out. Don't be afraid to mix and match. Don't be afraid to try new things. You'd be surprised how many things work better than you might have guessed. A lot of the stuff that I learned teaching myself was just, I didn't know better, so I would just try whatever. And I think that served me pretty well, because I was able to come up with things that maybe other people wouldn't have told me to try. If you're frustrated with the techniques that you've been trying to learn, try something else. There's a million different ways to play these instruments. There's a ton of different people that you can try to emulate. And I used one finger on my left hand and a finger and a thumb on my right hand. And that's pretty much everything that I did in this video to play these two somewhat similar but different kind of musical progressions. You can be the judge whether or not you think the stuff I did was cool. The point of this isn't to say, oh, this is the coolest thing you can do. The point is just that if you think that you need to be able to form all these crazy, complicated chords in order to be considered a guitar player, or if you think you need to be able to do all these different techniques like, some guitar god in order to be considered a good player, you're missing the point. The point of music is to play something that you enjoy, that lets you feel creative, and it's an outlet for emotion. And more than anything else, does it make you feel something? Does it make you feel good? Does it put a smile on your face? One of the most famous guitar parts probably of the last 30 or 40 years was the opening of Nothing Else Matters by Metallica, which is just that is literally, I'm tuned to drop D, but literally that would be an open on the E string, an open on the G, an open on the B, an open on the E, back down to a B, to a G. You're basically just, there's nothing simpler than that. And that little thing has become iconic. Don't be afraid to try something simple, because some of the biggest songs that have ever been recorded are 3-chord songs, 2-chord songs that a monkey could play. But whoever plays it first is the one that gets the banana. It's not whether or not you could have played it better, or whether or not somebody else could have played it more complicated. Play what you play. Whatever comes out, comes out. Don't be ashamed of it. Own it. If it's not good enough for you, then build on it and learn more. But someone out there is making music that would make you cry. It's so good. And they're playing it on an instrument that's in neglect, an instrument with terrible strings on it, and they're playing out of tune, and they're playing with no discernible technique. And they're making music that's just beautiful. There's something to be learned from that. So take a stab. Throw something together. Maybe you'll put a couple pieces of music together that make you feel something and make you smile. And that's beautiful. That's what music is. Don't be afraid. As always, stay positive and hang loose.